Welcome to the studio at the African Utility Week and Power Gen Africa. Today I'm speaking with Mlungisi Mkwanazi on how utilities should keep in pace with the proliferation of the Internet of Things. Mlungisi, my colleagues call you Mlu.
That's it.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
So Mlungisi, the Internet of Things is finally here. Over the last 20 years or I don't know, over a long period of time, most of the people were mainly focused on the internet, but now it's the Internet of Things. IoT is finally here. In other languages, they will call it the ego is landed. So what are the top 3 technologies which utilities should invest in to keep pace with the IoT?
Yeah, IoT is actually a very interesting subject because it takes into account all the devices that we're using on a daily basis. And basically we are having these devices that we've always had, but we are now integrating them via some app and we are integrating them onto our existing system. So from a utility perspective, we just need to recognize and take into cognizance that utilities by nature are big and slow. Even if they are small, there's still a lot of red tape that is actually around that. But if there's technologies that they need to actually move into, and probably some of them have been moving into those areas, it is like your smart meters from an electricity perspective, smart sensors from a water perspective. You'll also then ultimately have the smart cities, and then you'll also have smart energy and the smart grid across our network.
Okay, but if we look at Africa, which technology do you think Africa is ready for?
I think Africa is ready for the smart grids. Smart grids, Africa is ready for smart sensors because we need to ensure that prevent any leakages on our water pipes. And then also smart meters, absolutely, because that also assists the organization from being very, very efficient from their outputs up until they actually reach the end user.
Okay, but do you agree with the fact that smart metering is the best for smart grids?
Absolutely. Smart cities will thrive under smart meters. And I'm happy that not only are we having 4IR coming through, but we've got 5G that's coming through and it's promising can actually give us a mobile bandwidth that is bigger than what we are experiencing with LTE. So with that in place, I think smart metering is going to come in and it's really going to rock this world, so to speak.
Okay, but are utilities in Africa investing or interested in these technologies?
I think there is interest, and I think the interest basically comes from the utilities themselves want to be very efficient in their operations. Therefore, there is interest. But in as far as investment are concerned, I think what needs to happen is that from a planning perspective, there has to be integral planning where they are planning for the big assets, and then also they must not forget the IoT, the smaller part of the asset, but the smaller part that makes the asset to tick, where you're able to actually get data coming from that and take it into a control room and be able to analyze that, and then be able to also inform the consumer or the end user about the patterns of his spending.
Okay, but looking at the African energy landscape, can we say utilities in Africa have moved away from a point when we can say they are no longer focusing on revenue security, revenue generation, and they are now focusing on more or efficiently improving their operations?
I think the two will always be part of their focus in as far as being cost effective. That's number one. Number two, revenue generation has got to do with the assets that you actually have. Typically, if you've got telecommunication infrastructure within your company and some of it is lying dormant, then you might as well leverage that for commercialization and see if you cannot get additional funds. But that must never compromise the state of your network or the state of your utility.
Okay. What are the top 3 barriers to utility adoption of the new technologies?
Look, from where I'm sitting, I really think that project management is quite critical as part of this. I also think that integral planning has got to be there, and then above all else, it is the funding that must be channeled through to the right channels as well. Because without funding, you cannot really achieve much.
Okay, and what are your recommendations to overcome these barriers?
Integral planning, have all the teams around the table, then you are able to actually get diverse views, and then you are able to chart a way forward that will ensure that once the big asset like a transformer is down in a substation, you are able to get the kind of information that you want to see from that place.
Okay, you spoke about the emergence of 5G.
Yes.
Does utilities in Africa have enough funding, or the telecommunications companies have enough funding to adopt 5G technology?
I think the funding is going to come through as soon as there is benefit. But you've got to remember that from a technology adoption curve, that utilities are not on the forefront. They are not the innovators. They are not the early adopters. They are not even the early majority. They are laggards. They want to see that the technology is working best before they can actually commit. But I think with time, they'll be able to commit to that.
Okay. You also spoke about smart sensors being adopted in the smart water industry to enhance operations. But looking at the water industry, from my own point of view, I've seen that the industry is always the last to secure funding. Why is this the case?
I think if one has a look at the water industry, you will see that slowly but surely people will start paying attention to it, purely from the fact that once you've treated the water and it's clean, you don't really want to lose it. And from time to time, that water, if it gets lost, it doesn't bode well for all the investment that you've put into your treatment plant. So that will change with time, because people are also realizing that water is a scarce resource and they need to treat it accordingly.
Yet water is life.
And water is life. Without water,
there's no life.
There's no life.
Can we compare water to energy?
Water and energy are synonymous, and transportation. And if you have a look at utilities, they're actually providing these services to the poor of the poorest. From a perspective of electricity, the poor need electricity. Water, the poor need water. And then transportation. They need transportation so that they can get to where they want to get to in as far as working is concerned and schooling is concerned.
Okay. You spoke about transportation. Any comment regarding electric vehicles in Africa?
Ooh, that is coming up. That is coming up. I actually read an article that was looking at 2019 as a year where a number of electrical vehicles were going to be launched. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think what they need to have is the longevity of the battery that they have, so that guys like me can travel from Johannesburg to Cape Town without having to charge for about half an hour.
Okay.
Yes.
But I think they will need also to ensure that we have the infrastructure, because along Cape Town, Joburg Highway, I have never seen an EV charger.
You see, you now need to plan, before you can actually take a trip. Absolutely.
Okay, Mlungisi, thank you for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming in.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you
to
so
our
much.
viewers, thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more energy and water related content.